On the vast savannas, hyenas don't wait but actively initiate attacks. They closing in step by step and maintaining constant pressure. From surrounding a lone lion to seizing control of a food source, every confrontation is direct. This series of moments demonstrates how collective pressure can change the course of events in just a few short minutes. In the dry grassland, a lone adult male lion stands on the edge of its territory. Weighing approximately 550 to 575 pounds, it outnumbers the individual hyenas, each weighing only 110 to 130 pounds. But its weight advantage doesn't guarantee safety, as the gray shadows begin to silently close the circle. More than 30 hyenas advance in a curved formation, their distance shrinking with each step. They don't attack in a rush, but maintain a constant harassing rhythm, closing in and then retreating, keeping the pressure steady. This persistent movement forces the lion to constantly shift its position, depleting its energy over time. When a hyena gets too close, the reaction is instantaneous. The lion spins sharply, locking onto its target and launching a counterattack to the neck. The opposing formation falters, creating a brief but crucial gap for the male to regain its position and make a retreat. After a tense moment, the two sides separated, moving away from direct contact. This confrontation was not just a test of strength against numbers, but also a test of team discipline. Collective pressure can shake even the strongest individual, but a small misstep can instantly reverse the outcome. On the low grass, still echoing with hurried breaths, a cheetah stood beside its prey, recently subdued after a brief burst of speed. Cheetahs are renowned for their explosive speed, but their stamina quickly diminishes after a successful hunt. In that brief moment of recovery, danger begins to appear. A hyena advanced directly toward the food source with decisive strides. Without a long chase, it applied direct pressure before the cheetah had fully recovered. Facing the risk of a prolonged confrontation, the cheetah retreated and maintained its distance. The prey quickly fell under the hyena's control. Having achieved its objective, it did not prolong the conflict, but maintained a vigilant position. In the competitive savanna landscape, hyenas often stand over cheetahs at food points, but they must remain cautious of larger rivals. In the open grassland, a pack of African wild dogs stood around their recently acquired food after a long chase. Weighing between 40 and 70 pounds, they relied on their coordinated movements to gain an advantage over long distances. Before the atmosphere had even settled, silent gray figures approached from the edge of the bushes. Two hyenas appeared, moving slowly but steadily. They maintained their distance, observing and clearly defining their roles. One stood slightly ahead, creating psychological pressure, while the other moved closer to the food source. With the addition of hyenas behind, the space narrowed.
He snapped him on the nose.
The wild dogs regrouped, signaling and trying to maintain their position. However, they were better suited to pursuit than close-range confrontation. Under increasing pressure and the increasingly tight hyena formation, their resistance became less effective. Finally, the wild dogs left the area to avoid unnecessary risk. The atmosphere gradually calmed down as the gap was re-established. This encounter highlighted the difference between long-range tactics and positional control. When food became the focus, team discipline and the ability to maintain pressure determined which side would remain in the game. On the edge of the grassland, a lone leopard stands beside its recently captured meal. Weighing between 90 and 160 pounds, the leopard relies on its stealth and ability to spring into action in a highly competitive environment. However, before the meal is even safely secured, the situation begins to change. Two hyenas appear from behind and advance toward the food source. They approach cautiously, maintaining a safe distance to create pressure. The leopard retreats, observing and waiting for an opportunity to react. At locations where carcasses are found, field statistics show that hyenas dominate in about 70% of contested cases. When one hyena gets closer, the leopard tries to hold its position for a few seconds. But faced with the steady coordination of its two rivals and the risk of being surrounded, it chooses to leave the area. The hyenas take complete control of the meal. This confrontation reflects a clear strategic difference. Leopards excel at ambushes and controlling confined spaces, but hyenas are superior at finding food thanks to their endurance and coordination. In direct competition, numbers and team discipline often determine which side survives. On an open field in the middle of the savanna, a herd of buffalo stood in a tight circle, sensing unusual movement around them. The adults held the outermost positions, heads facing outwards, forming a collective defense. Within this formation, no individual was separated from the herd. More than 50 hyenas appeared and moved in various directions, trying to find a gap to split the formation. They approached and then changed direction constantly, creating pressure from multiple sides. However, whenever a direction was pushed forward, the buffalo immediately adjusted, maintaining a uniform distance and not revealing any individual target. After several minutes of maintaining pressure without creating a separation, the hyenas gradually slowed their approach and withdrew from the area. The defensive formation remained intact. The confrontation ended without any individual being isolated. Unity had completely neutralized the splitting tactic. In In the open grassland, a herd of wildebeest moved closely together in a steady rhythm, keeping their young in the safest position. This close bond created a natural defense, but even a momentary slowdown in the calf was enough to spread the formation apart, and that pause was quickly detected. From the edge of the herd, a hyena accelerated with a clear objective. It headed straight for the smallest individual, closing the distance step by step. The mother's reaction was almost instantaneous. She turned sharply and advanced, blocking the approach with a resolute defensive posture. The pace changed abruptly. The hyena slowed down, realizing its initial advantage was gone. The distance was re-established, the calf retreated close to its mother, and the opportunity that had opened was quickly closed. The encounter ended in a brief but clear tension. A mother's protective instinct doesn't stem from calculation, but from a powerful survival reflex. On the savanna, that instinct can turn the tide in seconds. On the dry, cracked ground of the savanna, an adult zebra stands slightly apart from the herd after a long journey. Zebras usually rely on speed and powerful kicks to defend themselves while maintaining distance. But as their mobility diminishes, that advantage is no longer intact. A pack of hyenas recognizes this sign and begins to close in layers. They don't launch a full-scale attack immediately, but take turns approaching, maintaining constant pressure. When the zebra no longer has enough space to accelerate or turn to react, the encirclement gradually closes. The attrition pressure takes effect minute by minute. Without the ability to accelerate or build momentum for defense, the prey gradually loses control of the situation. The confrontation ends when the hyenas completely control the situation. In nature, when mobility is limited, chances are almost non-existent. In the dusty, open expanse of the prairie, a honey badger moved slowly, making no attempt to evade. Honey badgers are much smaller than hyenas, but are known for their thick skin and fierce defensive reactions. The hyena approached, attempting to pressure it with a series of close steps. The honey badger did not back down, turning to face it and maintaining a ready stance, noticeably slowing the approach. After a few seconds of hesitation, the hyena slowed its pace and retreated to a dangerous distance. The encounter ended quickly, reminding us that some small targets carry high risks that predators are unwilling to take. On the harsh savanna, every confrontation leaves a clear lesson about power and limits. Hyenas can close in, surround, and overwhelm, but success always depends on precise coordination. Numbers offer an advantage, but even a small mistake can change the entire course of events. Amidst this constant clash, alertness and discipline are the decisive factors in determining which species will survive.
On the African savanna, every encounter unfolds in a very different way, depending on the time, terrain, and the state of each species. There is no preset scenario for predator or prey, only instinct and reactions triggered in a fleeting moment. For hyenas, each situation is a continuous test, where they observe, approach, and wait for the opportune moment to act. African wild dogs are pack-hunting predators, small in stature but with great stamina. An adult typically weighs between 55 and 70 pounds, giving them no advantage in a direct confrontation. Their effectiveness depends on speed and continuous coordination. After securing their share of the prey from the leopard, the pack of wild dogs hadn't even settled into position when two hyenas appeared. They quickly closed in, forcing the wild dogs to retreat from the center of the food source. One hyena maintained distance to control its reaction, while the other focused on consuming the prey. As other hyenas arrived, competition erupted within the pack itself, revealing a clear social hierarchy. The wild dogs repeatedly tried to approach, but were unsuccessful. Faced with the hyena's incredibly strong jaws, capable of handling even hard bones, the pack of wild dogs was forced to retreat. The struggle ended quickly, demonstrating the hyena's clear advantage in such prey-stealing situations. Wildebeest are large, herbivorous animals that move in herds and maintain a high level of alertness. A mature female typically weighs over 400 pounds and is capable of reacting very quickly to threats. When a young one appears, the mother wildebeest's entire behavior is focused on protection. The moment a young wildebeest lags behind the herd, the hyena immediately pursues and closes the gap. However, before the pressure escalates, the mother wildebeest turns and heads straight toward the predator. The reaction is swift and decisive, leaving the hyena no chance to continue. The chase ends almost instantly. The hyena retreats to avoid further risk, and the young wildebeest quickly returns to its mother. The herd continues moving as if nothing had happened. The encounter concludes with a clear outcome. The hyena fails, and the mother wildebeest keeps her young. In nature, maternal instinct is one of the strongest responses, powerful enough to force a predator to stop. Lions are large cats with superior strength, heavy bodies, and quick reflexes. A mature male lion can weigh up to 570 pounds, nearly 5 times the weight of a single hyena. Under normal circumstances, its mere presence is enough to keep other species at a safe distance. In the open areas near the edge of the savanna, that advantage is gradually challenged. A lone male lion finds itself surrounded by more than 30 hyenas. The hyenas don't all attack at once, but constantly move around, closing in and retreating in short bursts, maintaining pressure and forcing the lion to remain on high alert for an extended period. The lion stands firm. It rotates with each movement, maintaining a stable defensive posture. When a hyena ventures too close, the reaction is instantaneous. The lion counterattacked briefly, forcing the individual hyena to break free from the encirclement. Other hyenas advanced to support, but lacked the necessary coordination to reverse the situation. Tension gradually eased as the lion began a controlled retreat. It may have suffered physical losses, but it maintained its position and avoided chaos. The encounter ended without absolute dominance. In nature, numbers alone do not guarantee success without decisive coordination and a willingness to take risks. Cheetahs are renowned predatory cats, known for their speed, slender build, and quick attack tactics. An adult female typically weighs between 75 and 120 pounds and relies heavily on open space to avoid conflict. When a cub is nearby, the cheetah's priorities shift. Immediately after the cheetah has subdued its prey, a hyena appears from behind and approaches. Under normal circumstances, the cheetah would choose to leave to avoid risk. However, this time the cub is right behind, leaving no room for retreat. The mother cheetah proactively advances, maintaining a short distance and applying direct pressure. This aggressive reaction slows the hyena down and then stops completely. After only a few moments, the hyena is forced to retreat from the area. The confrontation ended quickly. The hyena gained no advantage, and the cheetah kept its cub safe. In nature, when forced into a protective role, even the weaker species can prevail. Zebras are large, strong herbivores that rely on speed to maintain a safe distance. A mature individual can weigh over 700 pounds and is only truly safe when it can maintain a steady pace. When that ability is disrupted, the balance quickly shifts. A hind leg injury significantly slows the zebra. Its rhythm is broken, and the hyenas begin approaching from multiple directions, alternating between closing in and maintaining distance to maintain pressure. As more individuals arrive, the safe space shrinks and the zebra's ability to defend itself diminishes moment by moment. The attack ends quickly. The zebra is no longer able to escape the pressure, and the hyenas gain a clear advantage. In the wild, when prey loses its ability to move, hyenas' persistence and collective pressure make them particularly effective. On the vast savanna, the buffalo herd moves in tight order, each individual maintaining their familiar position. The calf is always positioned in the center of the formation, where the adults can observe and react promptly. The mother buffalo silently follows, acting as a protector when danger arises. When a calf slows down for a moment, the hyena immediately notices and attempts to close in. The distance narrows rapidly, creating clear pressure on the vulnerable calf. At that moment, the mother buffalo turns and charges directly at the predator with a decisive reaction. The sudden change causes the hyena to stop and retreat instantly. The chase ends before it escalates, and the calf quickly returns to the safe formation beside its mother. The situation concludes in silence. The hyena fails to achieve its objective, and the buffalo herd continues its steady rhythm. In nature, a mother's timely response is often enough to end a threat in its inception. Honey badgers are small, solitary animals that often move close to the ground. Their thick, tough skin and agile bodies help them withstand external pressure. From the outset, honey badgers don't seek to display strength, but rely on endurance and self-preservation. When several hyenas appear and form a circle, the tension increases with each movement. The honey badger remains in place, constantly turning to face the nearest threat, blocking all approaches. These attempts to get closer yield no clear results, and the hyena's advantage begins to diminish. The confrontation continues in silence before finally ending. The hyenas spread out and retreated, abandoning their ineffective attempt. The honey badger remained in the area, and the situation concluded in a familiar way. Becoming an unappealing target is sometimes the safest path to survival. Leopards are solitary, agile predators that rely heavily on surprise. An adult typically weighs between 90 and 140 pounds, enough to take down prey larger than itself. The leopard's advantage lies in its ability to quickly gain control of space. As the leopard settles near its food source, two hyenas appear at the edge of the area. They don't immediately approach, but move slowly, gradually closing the distance. The pressure increases with each movement, forcing the leopard to move away from the center to avoid a direct confrontation.
He doesn't see it.
The leopard doesn't leave completely. It maintains its distance and observes, waiting for the hyenas to lose focus. However, in reality, hyenas have the upper hand in about 70% of prey fights with leopards. Each time the leopard attempted to get closer again, the hyenas reacted immediately, quickly ending the attempt. The tension persisted, but the situation remained unchanged. The hyenas continued to maintain control of the area thanks to their numbers and ability to sustain constant pressure. In these kinds of prey fights, the advantage belongs to the species that can stay present longer and react more quickly. On the African savanna, hyenas don't survive because of overwhelming strength, but because of their ability to adapt to specific circumstances. In each encounter, they assess the risks, test their opponent's reaction, and choose the right moment to advance or retreat. In the natural world, This is how a species not at the top of the power chain can maintain its enduring presence over time.